Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories in music. Lorene Boutner has a positive story of connecting people and plants in a special way.
The mission statement of my life is to connect people and plants and do it in the funnest way possible.
We opened the vault to the caring stories, a set of inspirational stories that I've been able to do over the years.
Big cheers.
Nothing like being taught a cheer by Sydney.
Musical guest Pixie and the Partygrass Boys entertain us. Of course, don't forget one of my favorite passion projects, Objects with Stories are treasures remembered.
It was made at the height of stained glass making in technique and quality in America by the greatest maker who arguably ever made work in stained glass.
But first, Lisa Linton. Lisa, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Okay, now just so you guys know, fellow Aggie, okay? Just had to say that. So what have you been doing the last, say, 20 years or so? Because, obviously you're a mom. So
Yeah.
Tell me what's been going on there in the mommy world.
There's a lot being a mom for 5 kids, and there's many things to juggle. Early on when I grew up, work ethic and responsibility was very much part of my life. I grew up on a cattle ranch, so I wanted to instill those same values to my kids. And so I don't know if you'd call it, I would try to run my kids as, this was a business. We have to get things done. We have to have jobs. We have to have dinner. We have to have laundry. And so I would assign, even at a very young age, each child had a responsibility. And we have a rotating job chart every week. Even my 17-year-old grumbles about it, and it just is what we do. And it pays for rent and food in my house. And so I was doing that, and then my husband had a business that he was doing. But I liked the remodeling and home improvement, and so we really, when he graduated from college, we bought a townhome in Seattle, and I renovated and fixed that up, and then we used that money to apply to the next house, and from there it moved to the next house, and it just kept building, and that's how we received equity.
So you go from flipping homes,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going, okay, I can do this. And then you got into a little different side of the world with this franchise thing.
I was at lunch with a girlfriend, and she'd mentioned that her brother owned a successful franchise. And so I was like, that's interesting. And I learned more about it, and it just got me thinking, franchises are great because they've solved the problem of all the processes. They've got a product that works. Whereas I was watching my husband struggle a little bit, knowing, is this gonna work? I don't know, but where I knew a franchise, it worked. So it was important to me to look for something that worked and that was successful.
You're a cattle rancher's kid, okay? You're an Aggie.
Yep.
You're a mom. You're a wife. You are a business owner. You do lots of different things.
Yeah.
What advice would you give? Okay, there's somebody out there right now watching, okay, that's saying, I've been doing all this stuff. I got to figure out the next step of my life. What am I going to do? I mean,
It's hard. It's truly hard because as a mom, your whole identity is a mom, and making sure your kids are taken care of, making sure that they're successful, and just taking care of them. And then once they're doing well and on their own, you're just stuck with what now? And my advice is just listen to what you feel you want to do. And it doesn't have to be a business. It could be volunteer work. Maybe you enjoy volunteering at the hospital or children's hospital. So it's really where your interests lie and what makes you happy. For me, I get bored easily, and so I have to keep things moving. And I could do so many lunches and play tennis. I was like, you know what, I got to do more. I want to do more. And what really drove me, I wouldn't say it was a midlife crisis. I would call it a midlife awakening. So here I was, what do I do with my life? My kids are in school, a few of my kids have graduated, they're doing great. So my awakening was really realizing what do I do now? And I had lots of interest in remodeling, so I continued that road. But what was most important to me is that my kids could see me at a middle-aged woman, buy a business, start over, and with grit and determination, I've done it. And I want to tell women, you can do it. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter as long as you have grit, determination, and drive. And of course, you have to have support.
Lisa.
Yes.
How do you want to leave your mark?
Gosh, great questions. I hope by leaving my mark, it's everyday examples. I believe in living your true, authentic self. I believe in walking your talk, and I believe in treating everyone kind, and it comes around. So I hope my mark is that people see how I've been determined. I have great kids. It takes a lot of work to be successful. It doesn't come easy, but if you work hard at it, you can. So my mark would be for my kids, if that you can do anything at any age. And we've failed at some businesses, but we picked ourselves back up, started over, and some things work, some things don't, but the important thing is you just pick yourself back up and try again.
Well said.
Thank you.
Good job.
May 3rd, and it was 1924 when I was born. And when I was a senior in high school, World War II started.
Meet Dorothy Bale.
Come to find out that Dorothy and I have something in common.
We both like hats. She got her unique hat from Paul Brown, the CEO of Arby's, to celebrate a very special anniversary.
I have been here for 25 years. I have loved Arby's. They have been good to me, and I have met thousands of people.
At 94 years old and still going strong, Dorothy is the oldest Arby's employee in the entire country.
Welcome to Arby's.
Hi, Dorothy. I'd like to order a fish combo.
Okay, are you going to dine?
Yes.
And there you are.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Oh, you're welcome.
The Arby's, located across the street from Olympus High School, has been remodeled 2 times since Dorothy's worked there, and she's on her 4th version of computer systems.
I take about 200 orders during the week, and I'm only working 3 lunch hours.
That's like about 10,000 meals a year.
Oh my.
Why are you doing what you do?
Seeing all these wonderful people that come in to see me all the time.
Over the years, I've had the hugs.
Oh, I always give him hugs.
Yeah.
When I see him.
What's Dorothy's advice for a long, happy life?
I just take one day at a time. I don't worry about what happened yesterday, and I'm not going to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Live today.
Live today. I live one day at a time.
One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Over the years, I've been able to do a lot of cool stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I call them the caring stories. Well, we opened the vault today to show one of my favorites. There's a phrase that says, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." Well, Sidney Cooper's smile is worth 1,000,000.
7, 1.
My name is Sidney Cooper. I am a cheerleader.
Good job, Sid. Good job. Yeah.
Okay, what do I do?
just hold it, and I'm doing that way.
Big cheers.
Nothing like being taught a cheer by Sydney.
No problem.
Sydney is a junior at Viewmont High School. She was born with Down syndrome. Erin McQuivey with Primary Children's Hospital explains.
It means that they're just like anyone else, but that they have this special extra chromosome. Different isn't a bad thing. It just means that they have special abilities and different abilities, but those abilities have value as well.
Sydney's family and friends admire those abilities.
How brave she is. She is always willing to try things. She has performed in front of people that she doesn't know. She is never afraid to do something new.
In the home of the brave.
Vikings! 5, 6, 7, 8, Sydney!
Love you, Sid.
I love you more.
Love you most, sis.
Something magical happens when you add just a little bit of pixie dust to a song. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox with Pixie and the Partygrass Boys. Every band seems to have one of those love songs. You know the one I'm talking about, that one that just takes you in an emotional ride. Well, Pixie and the Partygrass Boys don't disappoint with this beautiful ethereal ballad about people that you just can't be with. They call it Paint You a Face.
Losing their head, and I will be beside you, remind you what you said. From the warmth and comfort of our first real bed. When you put your head down, your finger ran down my neck. Life is like a river, he's floating on by. Sometimes we drift together for miles, side by side. Sometimes we drift apart. Life is like a river, paint you a face, sing you a voice, write you a story. And I would like to be the one, be the love, be the glory. And I would like to paint you a face, sing you a voice, write you a story. And I would like to be the one, be the love, be the glory. And I would like to paint you a face, sing you a voice, write you a story. And I would like to be the one, be the love, be the glory. And I would like to paint you a face, sing you a voice, write you a story. And I would like to be the one, be the love, be the glory.
By now you know that I have a whole bunch of hats, and they all have names. This one, it's plant related. Yeah, it's called the aspen. Our next guest has a positive motto: every day is a great day. Today, I'm with Lorene Boutner. We share a whole bunch of different interests, and one of those that I would say is we're both plant geeks.
Of course.
Yeah, that's all the stuff. So I'll let you give a shameless plug as to why we know each other plant-wise.
Well, as you know, every day is a great day at Mill Creek Gardens, and when you come in, you are always lit up like a banner, and you're searching for those beautiful plants for your yard as well as for the set here at the station. And you know, besides every day is a great day at Mill Creek Gardens, there's also plants and people and connections to be made, and that's part of the mission statement of my life, is to connect people and plants and do it in the funnest way possible.
And you definitely do that. Was there somebody that helped you get that spark of loving plants?
Well, there was many, but there's just a wonderful experience I've had with my grandmother in her gardens. And she had the most amazing garden with things like hibiscus, bleeding hearts, cranesbill wild geranium, burning bush, which is the beautiful fall color big shrub. She had a small hedge of those in her yard, and she planted bulbs. And it was every Memorial weekend we would go to her house after saving the tins of the cans for a few weeks beforehand, and we would go to her home. She would be picking the flags, or we call them iris. She would be picking the snowball bushes, and if there was some roses up by then, we'd be picking roses, and if it was a normal year, there usually would be some available, and many other plants from her garden, peonies especially. And we would be putting bouquets together with some greenery. There was always some juniper there, some holly, and we would create these beautiful bouquets to take to the cemeteries. And usually we would travel to Logan, up there to see that, Centerville. And that would be a wonderful experience with my grandmother. Also, there was many times when I spent time in her yard running around, and she had these strawberries. She planted them under her rose bushes, of all places, as a ground cover, and we had many a morning of fresh strawberries with our cereal because of her. And she would make the fresh preserves, and we were right there with that. And she was from Danish descent, and so it was just this great opportunity to know my grandmother better. And a few years ago we had a family reunion, and before that reunion, that whole week I was thinking of grandmother and all these plants, and didn't even realize what a huge influence she was. And I happen to have a greenhouse in my backyard that's about 1,400 square feet, and I had...
I'm sure, no problem. Everybody's got one of those, right?
It's one of my hobbies too. I do it for a living, but it's also this hobby.
Yeah.
And I got this like inspiration, Lorene, you need to take some plants to this family reunion up in Albion, Idaho, and share these with your family. And it ended up that as I loaded my Suburban with everything I needed, and then I filled it with plants. Many trays of lilies, like this lily right here, and cranesbill, and iris, and daylilies, and bleeding hearts. And it was summertime, and I had propagated these, not knowing that's what I was going to do with some of them. And I got up there, and everybody was curious, what are these plants for? I waited till after the family meeting, and then I said, I've got some things to say about these plants. Everybody's curious about them, right? Let me tell you about grandmother's influence in my life for plants. And I was able to go through for a few minutes and just share where they were growing in her garden and how I learned about them. And then I said, okay, aunts and uncles, you get to choose first. Choose a handful to go home to your garden, and then cousins join in, and then your families join in. And by the time we were finished, there was only a small handful left, and by the time we left, they were all gone. And the cool thing was, is since then I've had a few texts and phone calls from cousins saying, I'm in my garden and I'm looking at the plants you gave me for grandmother's garden, and thank you. And it just brought us together, even just for a fun moment.
What was her name? Florence
LaVere Sorensen.
Wow. Well, you know the funny thing is, so that was your grandmother. I don't know if we've never talked about this. My grandfather, my gramps, his wife, my grandmother that I never met, she died when she was 42. My mom was 14.
Oh.
Her name was Florence.
Florence, yeah.
Really? Wow.
Beautiful.
There's one plant that you introduced me to that I have to admit is now my favorite, and it's an Ito peony.
Yes.
And to me, to think that plant, I hate to say this, but that plant's going to outlive me. Okay?
Yes, it will. Those are marvelous.
When is a plant more than a plant? When is a tree more than a tree? Because
they're always more than a plant and more than a tree, and the influence that they give us in our lives. I look around here in this garden and in every garden, and as I drive along, I just realized a few years ago that people don't see the world as I see it. They don't see the earth as I see it. I know that those grapevines over there are going to produce fruit. I know what they're going to look like in the fall. I know that when they're in the winter zone of their life, that what I can trim and what I can't, what I should and shouldn't do. And I know how to seed things out. It influences our lives so much. And you know, you talk about some of these huge trees even that recently in the storms have blown over, and what they've been through, and what experiences they are, who's climbed in them, who sat under them and enjoyed a picnic or enjoyed the shade or took a nap, and what gift that tree is to us, what gift those plants are.
I see parallels between nature and life because it's kind of intermingled. And the fact that these trees are bending, you know, and that they're surviving, and some of these old trees have been through a lot, they've seen a lot. There's a little poem that you say that I just absolutely love. Do you mind sharing that for me?
The name of the poem is either Adversity or Good Timber, depending on which source you look at.
Yeah.
But it goes like this. The tree that never had to fight for sun and sky and air and light, but lived out in the open plain and always got its share of rain, never became a forest king, but lived and died a scrubby thing. The man who never had to toil to gain and farm his patch of soil, who never had to win his share of sun and sky and light and air, never became a manly man, but lived and died as he began. Good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger wind, the stronger tree. The further sky, the greater length. The more the storm, the more the strength. By wind and rain and sun and cold, in trees and men, good timbers grow. Where thickest lies the forest growth, we find the patriarch of both. And they hold counsel with the stars, where broken branches show the scars of many winds and much of life. This is the common law of life. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
My father taught me that poem. When I was young, he would recite poems, and I asked him to teach them to me. And I have all these poems handwritten by him.
Really?
And we would get together and we would memorize them.
Oh my heavens, now that's such a legacy.
Chances are you've heard of a Tiffany lamp. What you might not have heard of is this next object that's a Tiffany. Objects with stories are treasures remembered. I'm here with Dr. Micah Christensen with Anthony's Fine Arts. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous stained glass. Now, it looks like it's based on a famous painting.
That's right. Many people will be familiar with this image because it was based on a painting by the German artist Heinrich Hoffmann. This was made by Tiffany Studios in 1893 for the Danbury Baptist Church in Connecticut. It was made at the height of stained glass making in technique and quality in America by the greatest maker who arguably ever made work in stained glass. Because Tiffany hired some of the best makers and designers, technicians from around the world. Stained glass, it's a dangerous activity. It requires very high temperature and materials, and many of the materials that they were using to make the stained glass are now illegal to work with. So you've got heavy metals like this green, which is a derivative of copper, or the white, which is a derivative of lead. And what you would do is you would use the mordants, which just means it bites into the glass, like arsenic, like mercury, and they would be fired at very high temps. You wouldn't live to a good old age usually if you were making stained glass. There's real texture in this. That's called drapery glass, which is a technique introduced by Tiffany. Some of it stands as far as an inch away from the window itself.
Let's face it, everybody gets a little hectic sometime. I don't know about you, but for me, I love to get outdoors and relax. Clear nasal spray helps me breathe better. I think that'll help you too. So come on, join me. You know you want to. Take a deep breath and relax. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal. It's my honor to be able to share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories in music on TV every week, as well as worldwide at jessopsjournal.com. Here's the thing I want you to remember. Everyone has a story. Yes, you have a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.